Welcome to my hot take on this year's South by Southwest. If you want to know if it was worth it, take a listen. Let me know what you think in the comments, if you went to the festival or, if you have any thoughts about everything that's been happening. So this year's South by, for most parts, felt very soulless and dead, not very exciting. And I think there's a few reasons this may be happening. First off, the guy that was involved with it since 1989, Hugh Forrest, was fired/let go last year. And then Austin decided to also demolish the convention center, which traditionally used to be the center of South by Southwest. And so between the two of those, this year's festival just seems very disjointed and just kind of boring. In previous years, you could start on Rainy Street, go to the convention center, go to 6th Street, hit up a bunch of different venues, and just have a good time. This year it seems like the venues were less. There were a lot less events happening, and even attendance seemed really low. I was on Rainy Street a few days ago on a Saturday. Beautiful day, 75 degrees, sunny, and yes, it was crowded, but it wasn't the same type of crowds that were there previous years. And then I walked over to 6th Street and it was completely dead. There were bars that were completely open. Maybe one or two of them had bands playing. There was one venue that had a little bit of a line and, you need to have a badge to get in. And that seemed to be the theme of the festival this year. If you wanted to see anything cool, if you wanted to see anything interesting, you need to have a badge. All the free things were not that great. And honestly, it almost felt like a commercial. Yes, there was, the Lumineers free concert. But, back in the day, people like Kanye and Beyonce played a random free show at South by. There was not that magic, that excitement, no crazy tech reveals. It just seemed like a very commercialized, almost like an advertisement for things. And also the tech portion was just very heavily AI involved and AI focused. So there wasn't a lot of reveals or any fun news that came out of South by. Also, it was 6 days as opposed to 10 days, which is usually the length of South by. And so it just seems very short. And the only thing that seemed more was the film part of South by, but overall the music and the tech just seemed very, very diminished compared to the last few years. Now I've only been going to South by for the last maybe 10 years, so I'm not the biggest expert, but certainly pre-COVID South by Southwest and maybe a few years after COVID seemed very different than this year. This year was definitely a downgrade from previous years. Well, those are my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree.